Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Cutler. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you're all doing well. I'm joined today by Travis Sims, who will be speaking about networking in the new normal. Welcome, Travis.
Well, thank you, Julia. I'm excited to be here.
We're very excited to have you here today and to learn about networking in the new normal. I'll give you some quick housekeeping information for our audience and then introduce Travis. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation, so please click the Ask a Question button below the video to ask your questions throughout the webinar. Also, as a reminder, the recording will be available tomorrow. Travis Sims is a networking expert, motivational speaker, and thought leader. For 14 years, he has worked as a high-level executive for a global networking organization. Travis is known worldwide as the magician of networking. He has been teaching and coaching the best business leadership minds across the country on how to network, build networks, and create community. Travis is currently the CEO of AGC, Accelerated Global Connections, the fastest growing business networking organization in the country. He is on a mission to help accelerate local business connections in social settings around the world that foster relationships resulting in global opportunities. Travis recently wrote the book, Networking in the New Normal, which teaches business professionals how to grow and thrive during and beyond COVID-19, which can be found on Amazon. Thank you, Travis, for taking the time to be here with us today, and I'll let you take it away from here.
All right. Thank you, Julia. Excited to be here and be a part of today's broadcast. And so I'm going to share my screen and get ready to roll. All right. Awesome. Well, as you shared, my name's Travis Sims, and I'm super excited. And we're going to jump straight into content because that's what we're here for. And you might have known there's this little thing that hit mid-March in the US, coronavirus, COVID-19. And this absolutely disrupted the world. It changed everything for everyone, no matter what race you are, no matter what religion you are, no matter what political standing you are, no matter whether you are wealthy or whether you're not wealthy, whether you're in business or you're not in business, coronavirus changed everything. And not just in here in the US, but everywhere. So what does that mean exactly? And what did it do to businesses? Big businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, tech companies, big warehouses, manufacturing companies, small mom and pop businesses, everything shut down. It came to a screeching halt just for a little bit. And what kind of impact has it had on small businesses? Well, I don't know about you, but I was glued to my TV during the first little bit of coronavirus when the news started breaking and things started shutting down. And we started hearing words like you're safer at home, quarantine. We started hearing words like, stay in place. You need to isolate yourself. And small business can't afford to isolate. We have to insulate. We have to insulate ourselves with a strong network. We can't afford to quarantine. We can't afford to social distance. Small business has to be social but stay distant in order to survive during a pandemic. So the biggest hit now, a lot of these big companies and organizations, they're going to make it, right? I mean, they're huge. They've been around a long time. They've got big brands. They have organizations and people and tons of people behind them. But the small business owner, the salesperson, the entrepreneur, the small mom and pop place, they were just brutally beat up by coronavirus. And they were left going, what are we going to do? How are we going to make it? How are we actually going to be able to not only stay in business, but the thing that I've always loved about working with small business owners and salespeople is that, well, I know that every time I help them make a sale or every time I send them a referral, it doesn't just grow their business. It helps them make their mortgage. It helps them take a dream vacation. It helps them keep food on their table. It helps send their kids to college. It helps put that thing that they've always loved or wanted in the garage. And supporting small business is an important thing. And I know, like right now, right this moment, you're watching this instead of doing Amazon Prime Day. Okay. It's yesterday and today, Amazon Prime. But I remember the meme, and you might too, that Amazon's never going to sponsor your kid's little league baseball game, little team. Probably not going to happen, but the small business will. You see, small business is not only so important to our economy, but it is the #1 employer in the entire US. It's not a big manufacturing company. It's not the auto industry. It's not any of these big names that you might know and think of when you think of business. Small business is the #1 largest employer in the entire country. It's made up of all of these small businesses. So what did you do to support small business? You probably did things like this. And they're all good things, right? Like shop local, get things to go, buy in advance, maybe buying some gift cards, shopping online with small business. You stopped in, or you sent a message and you said, thank you, and we're supporting you. And you probably did all of those things. I did. I know you have, you did, and you are, or you're going to. Let them know you care. But is it enough? Will it help? How many small businesses will close permanently due to coronavirus? And I was seeing this all over the TV, and I was seeing the headlines like, small businesses are in danger, and small businesses are closing, and what are we going to do? And I started thinking, I thought, you know what? I need to write a book. And so I did. I'd never written a book in my life. Now, I've always felt like I've had a book in me. I've just never taken the time to write one. I'm not a writer. I'm a speaker. And I just didn't like taking the diligence to put it down on paper. And so I set out to write this book, not for me, but to help small businesses, to make an impact. I knew that there were some things that I could put into paper that might help some small businesses survive, that might help that entrepreneur, that solopreneur make it through a worldwide pandemic. And little did I know, here's what was going to happen next. That book, Networking in the New Normal, would hit headlines everywhere. On Forbes magazine, it would go tons of news channels. I mean, it hit 400 different news channels because the topic of helping small business is relevant. It's needed. And here's what I know. And what I know about this is this. It comes down to sales. And somewhere along the way, sales became a dirty word, right? Oh, people don't want to be sold to. And that's true. I agree with you. I do not want to be sold to. However, people love to buy. So what I found over the years is that you have to teach people not how to hard sell, but how to help people buy from you in the way that you want them to buy from you. But sales is the necessary thing to keep the doors open. And I knew this from my own business. I've been in networking industry for 15 years, and I started thinking about it. Networking is still the relevant thing. It is the thing that's needed in order for us to be successful. You see, if you've ever been a business owner and it's just you, and you're wearing all the hats. You're that entrepreneur, you're that solopreneur. I remember watching my dad run a business when he ran a lawn care and landscaping company. My dad would work all day long in the hot boiling sun with men half his age, and he would outwork them. Why? Because it was his, and he cared about it. I watched my mom pore over the books at night and route out all the routes and contact the customers and send the billing and the invoices and do the payroll and all those things. And I watched Dad when he'd get in at night, and when everybody else went home, he'd go into the garage and he'd grease tractors and he'd sharpen blades and he'd get them ready for the next day. That's small business. That's hard-working American people just trying to put food on the table. My family, I'm the oldest of 8, and my parents worked hard, and there was never enough money to go around. Now, we wasn't poor, but we wasn't wealthy, and we knew it. But my parents worked hard, and they worked hard every day to make sure that what they did in their small business was able to provide for the family. And we didn't need for anything. Well, networking is the answer. And I'll tell you why. It's because it's not, my dad told me this all these years ago, and he didn't say it like that. He didn't know what business networking was. But what he would do is he would say, son, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And he couldn't have been more right. You see, you might think about times when it comes to you were overqualified, you were better than the other candidate, you were able to provide a better quality product or service, but someone else got the job. Someone else got the opportunity who was less qualified than you, that couldn't provide near the abilities and the opportunities that you could have, but someone else got it. And it's because they knew the right people. By the way, if you're looking for a job right now, it's the same. It's the same. Oftentimes, most jobs are filled before the job actually gets posted. And it's because someone knew the right person to get their foot in the door. Someone knew the right person to help them, give them that leg up to make sure that they got the in spot. And it happened before the job was ever posted. That's networking. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So how does networking work? Well, there's 5 different types of networking. We're going to breeze through this part really quickly, but if you're taking notes right now, this is a really good spot to take notes on, okay? I really want you to get this information. So there are 5 different types of networking. Let's talk about the 5. So first of all, we got close contact. Close contact networking is typically it's one person per profession. It's for the primary purpose of passing referrals. They meet weekly. It's really referral based. They often track their results. And there's tons of organizations for you to seek out and look for that are doing close contact networking. So like Master Networks, BNI, Latip, Biz2Biz, Gold Star, there's tons of them. Start a Google search and hunt for one of them and plug yourself in. There's online social networking. And those are ones, even if you're not in business, you're probably doing some of them. The biggest one for business is LinkedIn. And people think that you only do LinkedIn when you're job searching. But here's the thing that you need to know about LinkedIn. You're going to see trends in social media. So trends in social media are going to, like, Facebook is up one day and Instagram is way up the next day compared to Facebook and so on, and different ones. And TikTok is on the rise, and all these different social media places for you to have a brand, to have visibility, to get your message out. But LinkedIn is always steady. It's always steady. It doesn't falter. It doesn't change. It doesn't go up or down. It's just steady. So if you're in business, if you're in sales, you want to be represented on LinkedIn. So online social networking includes LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and many, many more. What about associations? Also really important, right? Maybe it's your alumni that you're watching from today can be an association. It could be specific to your industry. Maybe you're a part of an attorney association. This is where you're networking with people that do something similar to you. You're all in the same industry likely, but you might specialize in different things. The benefit to networking in associations is that, well, you're able to share ideas, you're able to sharpen saws, you're able to really help one another because you're from different areas or you're different specialties. And so you're not competitive, even though you're from the same industry. So associations is a good place to network. We'll talk about service clubs. Service clubs is one of my favorite. And it's because you don't join a service club to grow your business. You join a service club to give back to your community. So think like Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions Clubs, Optimus, all those are great organizations. And the focus is giving back and helping others. It's a great place to network. And then lastly, we'll talk about the 5th one, which is open contact. And that's where my organization, AGC Accelerated Global Connections, lies, but also along with the Chamber of Commerce, Network After Work, First Thursdays. And when you get to those, there's more than one person per profession. It's often in a face-to-face environment. It's usually after hours. It's more social rather than structure. You're often carrying a glass of wine. You're exchanging a lot of business cards. Virtually, you might see Zoom rooms full of tons of people in open contacts. So you might be wondering, with all those options, how do you choose? How do you know where to start networking? I'm going to tell you that you don't choose. You actually diversify. The leading experts in networking today, including myself, will tell you that you need to diversify how you're networking, which means you can't put all of your eggs in one basket. If networking is a good source of referrals for you, if networking is a good source of new business for you, then you want to create multiple streams of how you're networking. So maybe choose one closed, one service where you're giving back, and one open, and so on. Maybe even delegate someone to do the social media things for you so that you can spend your time networking and asking for referrals in the other areas. But you diversify this. So think of it like this, and I'll talk to you. I'll give you a way to consider this, and that is, think about how you might stream TV. If you're watching this today, you might be streaming it from somewhere. And so some of you are streaming TV, and if you are, then you likely are doing it in more than one place. Like you might have Netflix and also Prime. You might have Hulu. You might have YouTube. You might be using lots of different ways, but you didn't just choose one. You chose multiple ways to stream that television content into your household. And if you're in business, you choose multiple ways to stream that level of referrals, to stream that level of income into your household, into your business, and so on. You diversify. So what does that look like today? I mean, because right now you're going, hey, we're still in a pandemic. It's 7 months later. When we first got into this, right, we're like, in 2 weeks, like this thing will pass in 14 days, because that's the period of, when you get sick and when you have symptoms and when you're clear to go. Again, about 2 weeks, and this thing will all be over. And then we started seeing things like, well, we're gonna flatten the curve, right? We're gonna flatten that curve. Now we're 7 months later, and businesses are still looking about how are we going to survive the pandemic. And networking doesn't stop, right? Networking should never stop, even in a pandemic. And so now we're just forced to do it differently. We're forced to do it online. We're forced to do it from our computer screens. But the beautiful thing about that opportunity is that it took you away from just the people you could meet in the room, that group that you were hanging out with of 25 people that you were passing referrals to. Now you have the whole wide world web to grow your business in. So let's talk about how to do that. By the way, first of all, in networking, no matter whether it's in person or it's online, I'm going to tell you something that you might not quite understand yet, and that is stop selling. Now, wait a minute, Travis, you just told me earlier that sales are important, and yes, they are. But no one wants to be sold to. So when you go to these Zoom rooms, when you go to these go-to meetings, when you are on Google Hangouts, when you are in Zooms or wherever you're at, don't go into the room ready to sell, ready to sell, ready to sell. Because I'll give you this scenario. I could ask an entire room of people, I could ask you this right now. If you came to this event today, did you have something to sell? And everyone raises their hand. Yes, I've got something to sell. But the problem is, no one came to the event to buy. You see, I could ask the same question. How many of you came here to buy something? And no one raises their hand for that. So you've got this whole group, this whole meeting, this whole event full of people that are all there to sell and no one's there to buy. And that's called the networking disconnect. So you don't actually come there to sell. I'm going to tell you that it's all about the relationships. It really is. It's about the relationships. Come to an event, come to that Zoom opportunity, come to that Hangout, to that Google meeting, and go with the intention of, I'm going to meet a couple new people today to develop a relationship with. And one of a few things may come from that relationship. It might just be that you've met someone new and interesting, and you've formed a new relationship, and that has value all in itself. You might find that, hey, I need your product, you need my product. We're able to turn this into a sale. You might find that they may never buy from you, but you might find that they become your best referral partner. But it all comes from relationships. You have to form the relationship first before you can ask for the sale. See, that's the thing about networking. It's not, I mean, like if you wanted to do tons of sales, you could maybe do that in cold calling or lead chasing, but networking is about the relationships. Okay. You see, you must get to this, which is trust. Trust is the big thing. So think about this, right? Would you pass a referral to someone that you didn't know, that you didn't like, that you didn't trust? No. Why is that? Why? And it's because that you don't want to land your reputation on it. Because if they mess this up, who are they going to call? They're not just going to call the person that messed it up. They're going to call you and say, why did you send me this person? You won't believe what they did. And they're less likely to refer you in the future because, I mean, they're not going to take referrals from you because you've broken the trust. See, trust is the biggest thing. So when you're building the relationship, before you can ask for a referral, you must earn the trust. The trust is the biggest hurdle. It's the biggest thing. Now, trust doesn't come easily, right? It's something you have to work for. It's something you have to develop. It's something that takes time. Now, it could be different depending on the profession, right? So let's use this scenario. You have a financial advisor. How much trust does it take before you refer them to your mother? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, did you hear what I just said? Probably a lot of trust, right? For you to refer the financial advisor to your mother. Because if something goes wrong, if something happens, I mean, mom's moving in with you. Something's happened. Oh no, your inheritance? Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. So it takes a high level of trust for the financial advisor. But let's use another scenario. Maybe it's a flower shop. Maybe it's just a flower shop. And how much level of trust does it take for you to pass a referral to a flower shop? Probably not that much, right? Just a little bit. You just need to know, like, all right, where are they located? Do they deliver? What's their radius? They probably can't mess this up. And as long as they get the delivery there and the flowers look nice, even if they die in just a couple days, the person on the other end is still thanking you. They're still saying, thank you so much for sending me those flowers. So trust has a different level depending upon what it is you're selling, what it is that you're offering, what referral that you're asking for. But no matter what it is and what level it's at, trust is the answer. By the way, networking is all about helping others. You see, everyone comes to the room, like I said before, with here to sell. But really, you want to build relationships, you want to build trust, and you want to help others. The fastest way often to getting to referrals is helping someone else get to referrals, right? Helping someone else get to business. Have you met this person? Have you thought about this? Let me do an email introduction for you. I'm getting ready to do an email introduction for our host that's here today on another speaker that's going to be fantastic. And so it's all about helping others. It's not just about helping yourself. So I want you to think about networking like this, okay? We're approaching Thanksgiving very soon. I know for all you Halloween lovers, and me too, we haven't yet had Halloween. But Thanksgiving is one of my favorites. Maybe I just love the food. I love the coziness. I love the family atmosphere around Thanksgiving, okay? So when you think about helping others and you think about networking, I want you to think about Thanksgiving. I'm going to give you a scenario. You got two test groups. You got Group A and Group B. All right. Group A and Group B are each left alone in a testing room, and they have heaping plates of Thanksgiving food. I mean, all the fixings, everything you could want, the ham, the turkey, the mashed potatoes, the stuffing, the pumpkin pie, like it's all this wonderful food. Here's the kicker. They left you with 4-foot-long spoons, forks, and knives. 4 foot long. And they left them there, and they came back in an hour. And they checked in with test group A, and test group A is sitting there, and they're frustrated, and they're upset, and they've just made a mess. I mean, like there's food everywhere and they've thrown their utensils on the floor and they're going hungry. And I said, what happened? They said, well, we tried to feed ourselves with these big, long forks, spoons, and knives, and I couldn't reach my mouth. And it was too big, it was too long, it was too awkward. Couldn't do it. They checked in on test group B. Test group B was sitting there, rubbing their belly, feeling full, empty plates, big smiles. They said, how did you do it? And here's what they said. They said, well, we tried to take those 4-foot-long spoons and knives and tried to feed myself, and it was just too awkward. Couldn't make it work. So we began to take these 4-foot-long spoons, forks, and knives and reach across the table and feed each other. Feed each other. You see, that's networking. That's helping others. If you can help feed enough other people, they'll help you. That's networking. So always know that you should be looking to help others when you're networking. And the ultimate goal, the thing that you're trying to get to, is those referrals. Referrals, not cold calls, not leads. Referrals is the golden word in networking. It's the golden word in sales. You know, referrals are more likely to close into business. I mean, huge percentage more to close into business over cold calls, over leads. A referral is more likely to stay with you longer. They will stay loyal to you. They'll stay committed to you. And did you know a referral is also more likely to spend more money with you? Yes, it's true. They'll spend more money with you. They'll pass by your cheap competitor to give you more money in a referral because of the level of trust. Travis said, hey, this is the person I trust and you should use them too. And that level of trust, that level of credibility was worth more. So they paid more. And did you know that the referral is also more likely to refer you in the future? It's true, because that's how they came to you in the first place. Referrals are always going to be the way that it leads to more opportunity. And by the way, when referrals happen, and it's not a guaranteed sale. It's not like it's going to happen and it's like instantly, I've got a referral and I'm going to close the deal. Sometimes it requires follow-up. Sometimes it requires lots of follow-up. And the thing to know about networking is it takes lots of follow-up, which means that you've got to be prepared to do it. You got to make the phone call. You know, a huge percentage of the people never follow up at all. The next percentage of the people follow up one time and go. But did you know that majority of sales are made on the 5th through the 10th follow-up? It's true. And if that's true, then the fortune is always in the follow-up. And by the way, that leads to more closed business. So remember the sales that we were talking about earlier and how we were going to help impact small businesses. They've got to put money in the bank. They've got to pay their overhead. They all have mortgages. They all have equipment. They have product that they have to carry. There's so many things, and that's even outside of their own personal things. They've got to make the money in order to survive. Okay, and so with that, you should know that first of all, networking is a long game. It's not a quick, fast, easy sell. It does take time to do it, and it's going to take even more effort in an online environment. Okay, it's going to take more effort. So let's get into how you're going to transform your referral business online in the new normal. So you probably, if you're looking at your phone right now, and I know we're all multitasking and it's hard to have a conversation without even having a phone open, someone having their phone open. But if you're looking at your phone right now, you're probably seeing lots of apps on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, tons of them, right? And you think because you're posting that you're networking. You think, oh, I'm going to be posting, I'm putting out my brand, I'm putting out my content, and that's what networking is in the new normal. And now 7 months later, I'm frustrated because it's not bringing me new income. And I bought ads and I paid lots of money and tons of people saw it and they're still not doing business with me. And you think that you're failing at networking. I'm going to tell you haven't even begun yet. You haven't started in networking in the new normal. Yes, it's important that you should be having brand awareness. Yes, it's important that you should be posting. Yes, it's important that you need to create a following and credibility and visibility in your marketplace. All those things are important. Yes, but it's not yet networking. So I'm going to encourage you to do this. And I want you to go and I want you to find groups. Groups are huge keys to networking. All right. So if you want to start networking, you go into LinkedIn groups and you find topics around networking or building a network. You find topics in your industry and you want to be in those groups. You want to be communicating in those groups. You want to be participating in those groups. You want to be commenting in those groups. You want to be posting in those groups. That's where you want to create brand awareness. That's where you want to create conversation. And those conversations lead to, I'm going to do a one-to-one. I'm going to do a face-to-face. I'm going to do a private meeting with someone because the conversation that I started in a LinkedIn group or a conversation that I started in a Facebook group. Now, Facebook has done some really innovative things here recently because we think Facebook is just the place for us to hang out with our friends. Well, I mean, that's what they call it, right? Your new friend on Facebook. It's not just about friends. And by the way, how many of your friends have ever done business with you? Absolutely. And so the amount of contacts that you have on Facebook, and if you start a business page, and if you start a business group, and then inside those groups or groups that you're a part of on Facebook, just like on LinkedIn that you're seeking out and you're participating in, you're posting in, and you're communicating in, they have even created the ability to create instant message rooms. And they're a lot like Zoom. So you can you can come into a room in video. You can create the room yourself in video and invite others to come in and participate with you. And when you do that, you get to create the topic. You get to control the audience. You get to be the expert just by creating a room inside a Facebook group and inviting another person in there to communicate and network with you, or a whole group of people to come in and network with you, and you get to be the expert. So next, we're going to go to a topic that I don't know about you, but I'm already getting Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue, it's a thing. It's a total thing during a pandemic. And so I will say this though, Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Hangouts, whatever model you're using within your organization, within your company, within your church, whatever it is that you're doing, this is an ultimate place to network. Ultimate. Okay. So let me give you some quick tips to help you stand out in your next Zoom meeting, because we think that, well, I'm here, I'm in the room, I'm part of the event, I'm networking. And I'm going to say you took the first step. You know, showing up is 80% of life, right? 80%, that's a lot. But what about the other 20%? That's what's going to make you stand out in a networking room, and especially on Zoom or any virtual place to do business. And in those Zoom meetings, inside those Zoom meetings, you want to not only, first of all, look professional, right? At least from the top half up. You know, you can wear your sweatpants down below if you want, but you want to at least, and I'm not wearing sweatpants. I know you're laughing right now, but you want to look nice, okay? Come to the meeting as if it is a professional meeting. Come prepared to represent your business, to represent your brand and what it is you do, and look your best as always, just as if you were going to a face-to-face in-person meeting or event. So first of all, look the part. Secondly, it's good to have a nice background, either a virtual background, a background that you've put up in your office, or at very least a professional background in a clean working environment. Not a messy desk with things piled up everywhere, but a nice clean visual. Maybe just add some pictures up. Is that enough? No, but it's a start. All right. So the next thing is, when you come into the room, in the chat inside Zoom room, I want you to drop your information. So I want you to drop your contact information, your name, your business, your phone number, email, your website, all of that. And I want you to drop it into contact information. And so that everyone sees it and everyone has access to it. And next, as you are in that meeting and other people are doing the same, You have the ability to save that chat later. And that's really important when you're networking. You want to save the chat so you have everyone's contact information. Now, do not just blind go and take that and load it up into your CRM and start sending the newsletter to these people that didn't want it in the first place. Because you think, well, I got to do networking and I got to do that, and I don't know how to do it in an online environment. So instead, I'm going to give you a better way to do this, a more relational way, a trustworthy way for you to make contacts within those Zoom rooms, within those Google Hangouts, and so on. And that is that when you are taking that information, you can then contact them afterwards and say, hey, we were in the same event together. We were in the same meeting together. I'd love to get to know you better. I'd love to know more about you and your business. See if we have anything in common. See if there might be a relationship that we can build. See if there might be opportunity for us to do business or opportunity for us to create a new relationship. Most people will be open to that. They're there for the same reason that you are. Then I'll also add that you have the ability inside a Zoom meeting or anywhere else, any other platform, to do private chat, where it's not available to everyone, but you can reach out to someone in a private chat and say, hey, I see that you do XYZ, and I'd really love to learn more about that. And be genuine, be authentic, be yourself. And remember, don't sell, but come there to build a relationship. That's what networking's always been about, is building the relationship. And see what you really want to get to. It's not just the meeting. It's not just the event, because I'm on Zoom meetings and events all day long, every day. But it's this that makes the difference. It's when I get to the one-on-one meeting, when I get to that face-to-face, when it's just me and them, because I'm going to use that meeting opportunity to get to the next step. I'm going to use that big event so that I can set up a few small, just one-to-one meetings where it's just going to be us. That's where the relationship happens. That's where the trust gets developed. That's where the conversation comes. That's where potential referrals could potentially happen for you. That's where future meetings get set. Hey, this was fun. I really enjoy getting to know you. I'd love to set a future meeting. Let's go ahead and do that now, right? That one-to-one meeting is what you're trying to get to. You see, think of it like this. Even in in-person events, even in just any other format, it's not about coming into the big room and trying to sell everyone in the room. Because first of all, not everyone's a client, not everyone's a prospect, not everyone's a potential customer for you that's in the entire room. But chances are there's 2 or 3 people in the whole event that might be, right? And that's the meetings you want to get set. The difference is that you're not inviting them to coffee today in the new normal. You're inviting them to a private Zoom meeting where it's just the two of you to develop that relationship. You see, networking in the new normal, taking a pandemic and turning it into an opportunity. I guarantee you that where there's lemon, there is always an opportunity to make lemonade. So what does that look like exactly? You know, people would think, and I'm from the industry. I've been 15 years in the industry of networking. Business networking had been on a 10-year decline in the US. Now it's blowing up and growing in tons of global markets. But in the US, networking had been on a 10-year decline. And it's because they'd been doing it the same way for a long time. Organizations had done it same way for 100 years. Organizations had done it the same way for 35 years and hadn't changed the model, hadn't changed anything. Could you imagine today still driving the Model T? Now, I would love to have one in my garage as a project. I'd love to have one in my garage just for fun and parades and just family little trips around the block. But I don't know that I would want to drive one of these every single day, not having the comfort of today's future. You see, networking had fell into a position to where it was the Model T. They wasn't offering anything new. There was no new opportunities, and networking was on that decline. But in the middle of a pandemic is when people change. It's out of necessity that new things develop. Wouldn't you much rather be driving this car today? You see, we have an opportunity with networking in the new normal, networking during a pandemic, networking in today, 2020, almost 21, to be driving a futuristic business. You see, because of a pandemic, I was able to shift online. I was able to broadcast not only to the 100 people in a room, but to thousands of people could hear and be a part of that message. We wrote the book. I wrote the book, Networking in the New Normal. I started some new groups online. So many things. People are getting innovative. Think back to the recession. There were more businesses that closed than ever before. There were more bankruptcies than ever before. There were more foreclosures than ever before in history of the US during the last recession. But did you know there were more new businesses opened than ever before? And it's because no one was hiring them. It's because there was a necessity to grow. There was a necessity to change. And because of that, when no one was hiring them, they made a way. People became entrepreneurial. People said, you know what? No one's hiring me, so I've got to go out and start my own thing. Now, here's the difference today from a recession to a pandemic, because the news will tell you that you have to social distance. The news will tell you that you need to quarantine, that you're safer at home, stay at home, all of these things. So we have to be able to figure out how to grow our businesses, how to grow our brand, how to grow our sales online in the new normal. And I hope that I've given you lots of tips, lots of tricks, and lots of tools on how to do that on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, but most importantly, in those rooms like Zoom rooms and Google Hangouts and all those places, and how to get to that next level in your opportunity to build your next relationship, to get to that trust, how to use groups inside LinkedIn, how to use groups in Facebook, and how to network in the new normal. And if you're interested in learning more, you can always just pick up the book. I gave you some highlights, networkingintheNewNormal.com. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much to our audience. I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Travis. That was definitely informative and enlightening, and I think we learned a lot today. We have some questions that have come in, so I'm going to get right to those. Do you have any recommendations for how to organize a virtual networking event?
Oh, yes. I love that question. Thank you so much for asking. First of all, there's great tools today like Eventbrite and Meetup. Okay, so Eventbrite and Meetup, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that screen. But Eventbrite and Meetup are places where you can host your event. You can make a description, you can add a picture, and there's even great tools to help you with your art and design, like using Canva as an example. It's cheap, they have a free version, and you can create beautiful graphics for your header. You can also add events to Facebook, LinkedIn events. There's tons of places for you to host events online. And then inside the body, they usually have a place, all of them have shifted. Like they used to be in-person events. Now they have a place where you can actually drop the link for your Zoom meeting, for your Google Hangout, whatever that is. And only the people who register are going to get the link. And then you take that meeting to a safe spot like Zoom or Google Hangout or any of the GoToMeeting, any of those places where you can manage that event. So as far as the hosting portion, I would recommend Eventbrite, Meetup, Facebook, LinkedIn, and don't just choose one. Remember, diversify from your audience. Go where the people are. And so bring in all those different audiences from those different locations into the same event. Hope that answers your question.
I think that definitely did. That was a good question. How about this next question? How do you make a cold reach out on LinkedIn?
A cold reach out? Okay. So a cold reach out, first of all, you would rather have a introduction, right? You'd rather have a referral. But let's say that you just don't have that ability, like you don't have anyone in common. So that's the first thing I do is I look on LinkedIn and I look at Like, do I have any mutual friends that could make an introduction on my behalf? It's going to be a much better way to get introduced, right? And they can do that through a message, and then you can connect afterwards. So that's the preferred way. That's the referral way. However, if it needs to be cold and you don't have that opportunity for the referral, then I would recommend when you send the connection request, you send it with a message like, hey, I met you on, or I saw you on LinkedIn. I liked what I read on your profile, and reference something in the profile so they can see that you read it, right? That you paid attention to what they had. And here's what I do, and here's why I would like to connect with you. And remember, it needs to not be about the sell, but genuinely and authentically, here's why I think we should connect, and why I think we might be, there might be a way for us to build a relationship that could grow into something further.
Okay, good. What about this question? You talked about the Zoom meetings. How do you get invited to the Zoom meetings?
Oh, that's a great question too. I love these questions. Thank you. Keep them coming. If you have questions, drop them in now. Hit that button, ask a question, and drop those in, because you guys are doing some great questions. So how do you get invited to Zoom meetings? Well, first of all, everyone wants you to attend their Zoom meeting. I mean, if you just start searching Eventbrite, you start searching Meetup, go to my website, joinagc.com. We have Zoom events all the time, and you're welcome to come and check those out. And so everyone wants you to attend their Zoom thing. Every speaker, every trainer, every teacher, every coach, all of a sudden had no way to reach a live audience. And the only way to do it was to do it through their computer, and to do it through things like Zoom and GoToMeeting and Google Hangout and all those places. And so if you go to Eventbrite, you go to Meetup, you go to Facebook, and start searching for the things that you're interested in, the things in networking or a network or any industry topic, you're going to find events. And it's as simple as clicking, yes, I want to go, filling out the information that they ask for, and they'll provide you the link. So it's never been easier than to attend an event somewhere. And most of these events, I'll say not all of them, but most of them are available opportunity for free. They're open to you. They want you to attend. And they're just a plethora of them. They're everywhere.
Okay. At what frequency should you stay in touch with your connections that you don't see or speak with on a regular basis?
Another great question. And this is an actual something that I reference in the book, Networking in the New Normal. And that is that sometimes we're always thinking about getting to the new sale, right? We've got to get new sale, new sales, new sales, new sales. You're always chasing that new sale. But wouldn't it be easier to talk to someone who already knows you, who already likes you, who already trusts you, who's already doing business with you, okay? Or that you've previously networked with. They already know you, they already like you, there's some credibility there. Wouldn't it be easier to connect with that person? And the answer is yes, always. And so when you're networking, I recommend, especially if you need to get quicker, faster results. Faster results are going to come from people who already trust you. So when you go into that environment and you touch base with them and say, hey, I was just thinking about you, and it's been a while since we connected. I'd love to set up a Zoom meeting, and let's get together and let's see what's new. I mean, the easiest question today is, how have you pivoted during the pandemic? How have you adjusted? How have you changed, what you're doing? I'd love to catch up and learn more. So if you haven't talked to them during this time, that's the easiest lead in to rekindle the conversation. And then just touch in every so often. I try to touch in with most of my referral partners and people 4 times a year, about once a quarter, as a necessity to just stay in touch with them.
Okay. Here's one that is actually about networking internally.
Okay.
How can I effectively network internally with my organization while we're all currently working remotely?
Oh, that's very good. And this is actually something else that I touch on a little bit within the book, Networking in the New Normal. And again, you can find that on networkingthenewnormal.com, or you can go straight to Amazon and get that book. But it's important, especially in an organization, if you're wanting to move up, right? And how do you stand out today more than ever? Because you're like, well, I'm not in front of my boss very often, or I'm not. It's not the same. We're not in our cubicles. We're not having team meetings in person anymore. So on Zoom, ways for you to stand out, have an interesting background. Put things in the chat so that people see you, make comments, have conversation. You have the ability to raise your hand. And when the moderator downloads the chat afterwards, they'll see how many times that you plugged information in, how you shared a link, how you raised your hand. They'll see all of that communication coming from you. And they'll remember you because you stood out with that awesome background that you had, and you contributed to the meeting. And I'll also say, here's an additional way for you to even become more visible within your community while networking in the new normal, while here on Zoom. And that is, you can create even events within your company, like call it the water cooler hangout, and invite people to come and just say, hey, how's things going? And, where can we help you? And have a fun topic. Have a happy hour event for your work and be the person who coordinates that and do it on Zoom, and have some fun activities planned, like, maybe some questions, like just make it fun. There's tons of games. There's tons of games out there for you to do that with. And that will help you stand out above, all of your other colleagues within your organization.
Okay, good. I think I have a bit of an echo, so I apologize for that. I know you talked about the Zoom meetings. Is there a way to network if you are attending a Zoom presentation where participants only have chat and Q&A?
Okay. Yep. And I'll say too that I probably answered a portion of this in the earlier, but thank you for the question. And if you only have chat available and that's your only way to participate, I've been on those too, and they're less fun because I'm a social person. And I'm guessing if you ask this question, you are the same. You are a social person. And if you only have the chat, then again, comments, I find myself saying, oh, I loved how you shared this information in the presentation, and I'll add that. Oh, wow, that's brilliant. Thank you. And I'll put in quotations into the chat what it is that I found brilliant within the content. I'll offer a book, right? Oh, here's a great book on this topic that you all might be interested in. And again, as throughout that webinar, your name is showing up multiple times. And if there's an ability for you to chat with others within the group, you can also post, hey, I'm open to setting up, one-to-one meetings, future Zoom meetings, and leaving your contact information, or approaching them privately to do that as well. So I hope that helps.
How do you recommend following up after initially speaking with someone you are building a relationship with? How long is long enough to wait? And at what interval should one follow up if you don't receive a response? At what point do you just move on?
It's a great question. So I typically, when it comes to follow-up, and by the way, this hasn't changed much in the pandemic, in this new normal. That area has stayed a lot the same. And so when it comes to follow-up, first of all, a follow-up depends on what you're following up on, for one. So is it something like, hey, I just gave you, let's use this scenario. I presented my product, my service. They have an interest to buy. Okay. And now I'm getting crickets. Like, I haven't heard anything. It's been a couple days. I'm going to let 48 hours go by at the most. I'm probably going to, within 24 hours to 48 hours, I'm going to send a message. I'm going to say, hey, just touching in, wanted to see, after you've had some time to think, if you have any additional questions. My role here is to serve you, to help you, and help you be informed about the purchase that you're considering. And so that's a really friendly, soft way for you to follow up with them. And they'll usually reply to that. And if they don't, then, and that's probably by email or by phone. And if I don't hear anything, I'll send another one within a couple days, or I'll pick up the phone. The phone is the best thing, or a Zoom meeting like this, if you can set up another one. Always in person, on video, or phone is going to be 10 times better than email. But everyone sends the email and they think that they followed up. So I'll use multiple ways in a follow-up. I'll make a phone call. I'll send an email. I'll send a card. That's something almost unheard of today. I mean, when people go out to their mailbox, the only thing they're going out to retrieve is bills and invoices, and it's not fun anymore. So when someone sends me a card and there's a handwritten on the outside of the envelope, I'm like, oh, wow, this is neat. Who did this? And if that was you, you're going to stand out 10 times over your competitors. So I recommend multiple ways and over time. The last part of your question was, when do you give up? And, you know, I made a statement earlier in my presentation that most sales are done between the 5th and the 10th contact in follow-up. So I'm going to say I'm giving up probably around 12. That's me personally. And that's over a period of time. And unless they tell me I'm not interested. And at that time, I just let them know, hey, I'm here and available if you have any future questions or want to restart this conversation later. And if then I might talk to them in 6 months or a year, just in normal follow-up. Hope that helps.
Okay, good. Another question. How should I network to get an entry-level job in a new field that I don't have connections in?
Very good question. Again, this audience is absolutely amazing. Thank you for the fantastic questions. And so you want to get connected into a new industry, connected into a new organization. You have no contacts there. And so it's interesting. Well, first of all, we'll talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you have the ability to see, does anyone else have contacts with this company, with this person? And if you have a common one, then that's what I'm going to go to first, right? Let's get the referral. Let's get that. If I don't, and you're relying only on the resume and only on the application, make it an interesting thing. Send not only the application online, but send it. I remember, and this is going way back in my career, and this is why they call me the networking magician. Okay, I was a magician for 10 years of my life. I performed all over the country and all over the world, and I was traveling with a big stage crew, and I was cutting in half and Houdini escapes and all that stuff. And this was way back when there was VHS and DVDs, and you depended on those to get the next booking. But the problem was, you'd send them and they'd just go in the stack of other DVDs and VHS, and you never knew if they got watched. And so I would always send mine with a thing of microwave popcorn, some candy, some M&Ms and things of that nature, this nice little basket, so that mine stood out. And I'm going to say the same. If you're trying to get into a new organization, you're trying to make your resume or your application stand out, find a clever way for you to send it. Find a clever way for you to stand out in the pile.
That's definitely good advice. And then I think we have time for one more question. Okay. How do you network with introverts who don't talk very much?
Oh, wow. Introverts. And actually, this is another topic that I touch on in the book. And I'll tell you why. It's because I'm an introvert. I know if you're watching this, you probably wouldn't think so because I'm doing this broadcast. But introverts, at least in my case, my introvertness, like I'm fine on stage, I'm fine in front of a camera, I'm fine in front of thousands of people on a stage. But when I have to network a room and meet people I've never met and have to go up and do the old handshake when we used to be able to do that, it just made me nervous. I didn't like doing it. And so with introverts, ask good questions. And, I always look for the people. Introverts, by the way, are often the most considered buyers. I mean, they came there with a purpose. They wanted to meet people. And so with an introvert, I'll see who's off by themselves or who's not engaged, even in a Zoom meeting. If they're not engaged or they're not participating, I'll reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed you here. It's nice to see you in this event. My name is, and I'll introduce myself. And so it's the same in a virtual versus in person. Find the people who are introverted and do that. And if you are the introvert, just know, people are welcoming. I think that there's 80% good people and 20% bad eggs, and we're majority of the people are there to help you. And if they understand networking, it's always about helping others. So muster the courage, introduce yourself, take that first step, and make contact with someone that maybe made eye contact with you, maybe that reached out to you, and follow that and see where it goes.
Well, thank you so much, Travis. This has been great information, and I think people are going to take it to the next level in their networking and hopefully make some good connections. So thank you very much for joining us today. And like I said, the broadcast will be, the recording will be up tomorrow, and you can check out Travis's book on Amazon, Networking in the New Normal. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Julia.
Okay, we are done.